Yeah, absolutely. I do not mind at all. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can help you kind of maybe understand why xEdit exists and kind of like what it's for. Or I'll do the best I can based on the understanding I have of the data structures, and that the game uses and things like that. I'm not sure how much you know about it. So if I cover something that you already know, I will apologize in advance. Okay, so in the actual game, the the data that the game uses is stored in records, and the records themselves have identifiers. Okay, so if I take a look at, let's say, a plugin, let me take a look at this, and I'm going to bring this plugin up through xEdit. You can see there are these four character identifiers. See up here where it says like header, okay? See where it says CNAME? See where it says things like this, okay, like data? Well, these are record identifiers, and it's based on an open, I think it was like an open source format called IFF, meaning interchange file format. And basically what it is, it's a 4 byte or 4 character record identifier, and then the next byte or word, 2 bytes, like, so you're looking at the next 2 bytes here, would generally say this is the size of the data. So next 2 bytes, I'm trying to get just 2 characters here, would be the size of the data, and then the actual data chunk. And the idea behind this is that if you can give certain data chunks an identifier, something that is common across all platforms, then the data can be interchanged between different computer systems because it knows the actual format, because it's an interchangeable file format. And I believe that's what they used here. So the record starts with the 4 character identifier, and then you have fields. So each record has certain fields that are associated with it. Such as, like, let's say you have a weapon. You may have a damage multiplier, the weapon's weight. There may be pointers to the weapon's texture, the weapon name, things like that. What races can wield it? Things of that nature. Different fields that are properties of the weapon at a like it's fields within a record or properties of, let's say, a weapon. And armor would be the same way. So Bethesda handles loading data at a record level. So it doesn't really worry about changes in the fields. It loads the whole record identifier. Okay, so let's say that a weapon has a unique ID, a numeric ID. We'll call that a form ID. That is the unique ID for the data and properties for that specific weapon, and that's at a record level. So it's record level. But within that record, you have all those different properties. So when a person makes a mod or a plugin, what happens is the creation kit copies that initial record. It copies it verbatim. You'll have a copy, and then you change the field values that you want. You change the properties within that record, and then when you exit the creation kit, it'll say, okay, do you want to create a plugin? Yeah, I do. And then you have a brand new plugin. So when you put that in your load order, the game is looking at your load order from top to bottom. So it loads the data record, that form ID for that weapon, and then, it encounters another form ID for that same weapon, so it loads that full record data. Okay, so the problem happens is when you have two mods that change different fields in that same record. That's the problem. So what you have to do is you have to merge those two records together into a brand new record. So the final override contains both of the previous mod's fields, if that makes any sense. So I think what's happening to you is, and I'm just guessing because I've seen it once before, is SS2 changes a location. It puts a door there, and that's probably a cell edit. But usually they'll do like a way to put a door there without editing the cell. Oftentimes they'll have a little lantern at the bottom which is actually placed. So it doesn't really require a cell edit, it places it. And when you click on that particular lantern, it allows you to flip back and forth between seeing the SS2 door and what the door should have been. Now this is just a guess. So, you know, that the conflict, okay? So what you want to do is you want to try to let xEdit do it. So what I do, and I have it here, what I do is I've got a load order that's pretty good sized. It's got, if you look, it's got 326 plugins, of which 122 are non-light. So I'm over that 255 limit, but they are light plugins, so I can have a lot more than just 255. But the problem with xEdit, which I'm getting ready to launch here, Fallout 4 Edit or xEdit, and it's the same application across different versions of Bethesda games, although there is some differences maybe in data structures. Like, for example, Starfield may have different records than Skyrim. You know, those 4-byte records. They'll still have, like, mast, which shows the masters. And while this is loading, let me show you an example of that. And so over here, I'm going to grab just this mod. And let's do plugin masters. Let's just take a look. So you see where I right-click on a mod and I say, okay, give me the plugin masters. And you can say that this plugin has these 4 masters. In other words, this plugin requires these 4 plugins to work. Well, all I really did was open that plugin up like a data file and I parsed it. So I extracted those data chunks and I looked for mast chunks. So every time I came up to, every time I encountered an mast chunk of data, then I know that the size of the data is going to be a text string. So you got the mast, you probably got the 2-byte, I believe it's 2-byte, which is word, not byte, but you'll have a 2-byte size. And make sure this doesn't kick off on us because it has a really bad tendency to do that for some reason. You'll have a 2-byte word size, and then you'll have the text string. So I can find mast, I know that 2 bytes gives me the string, and then I just extract a string. And when I run out of mast records, or once I read the entire header for the plugin, which is also a 4-byte identifier, then, because you can have structures embedded within structures, so because IFF can be embedded within IFF, you can actually see that there's going to be these four files. So over here, it looks like that xEdit has finally identified all my plugins. So I'm going to say, okay. Now what I would have to do, let me fire this off one more time, and I'm going to show you. So what I would have to do, I do have more than 255 plugins. So what I would have to do is I would have to go in here and deactivate some of them because it's going to show everyone that's active in my load order. And it goes by the load order text file, like the Vanilla Games load order text file. So I would have to go in here and deselect all of these. I have to deselect this. Let me get this back. Okay, there we go. That is a little tiny, and I can't remember I got such a wide screen. But I have to deselect these until I have just 255 plugins. And what that does is that's going to eliminate them from creating an auto-merge patch. So if you eliminate a plugin that you need to make a patch for, it won't work because it's not even going to look at it. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire this one more time, and this way we'll just do what we did originally, which was just press OK. So I have to go through, and I had to delete a whole, and it doesn't really tell me how many plugins I'm dealing with. So it doesn't say, okay, you have X, I don't see up here where you have X number of plugins active. So I don't see that. So it doesn't say, okay, you know, I can look at it and say, oh, I've got 300 plugins active. I need to drop out 320 or 300 plugins minus 255, or 45 plugins I need to deactivate to get within that limit to where I can make a patch. Or if you know which plugins are in conflict with each other, you can deselect them all and only select the ones that you want to make a patch for. Now, the trick with making a manual patch is knowing what the fields actually do in those data records, how it affects the game. That's the trick, and knowing what, if when you merge two records together to create an entirely new plugin that combines fields into the same record identifier, if it's going to do exactly what you want it to do. So some things are easy to see, some things aren't. So what you want to do is go down here to the bottom. You can go anywhere really, and you right click, and what you do is you look for other, and see here, and then you look for create merge patch, and you click this, and it asks for the name, and it tells you it's not supported, which means that the patch may work like you think it will, it may not. So, you know, I kind of do it, I kind of just let it do its thing just in case. So we're going to do okay. And it's going to ask for the name. So I'm just going to call it, you know, merged patch. Now this won't work because there's way too many plugins, but I'm going to go ahead and go through this motion anyways and see what it's going to tell me. See, it says only 200, oh, I'm sorry, I said 255. Only 253 masters could be added. Master list now contains entries and is full. Okay, cool. So it won't actually, I don't think it makes the merge patch. Yeah, see, it doesn't really build the patch here. See, but if I would have had 251 plugins, if I would have deactivated some of those, it looks like around 50, then I could have created a merge patch, and that's what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and that's really all you have to do. I'm going to close this. I do not want to save this plugin. I do not want to do that, and we're done. And you can see that over here, if you take a look over here, you can see that I do have one of these merge patches in my load order. You can see that's what I did. So I had to go in and deselect. I deselected all of the previs combines, the PRP, some of the things that were gameplay additions, or maybe, you know, but locations. If you know something that changes the location, you can deselect everything. You can go in and you can fire off xEdit, and then you can deselect everything that is just flat out deselect everything. Right click, and you can say select none. And then you can go in here and you can start selecting just the location mods, just the mods that modify the location, and you can make a patch specifically for location changes. You know, where it says this adds to this location, this adds to that location, and you can do that. And that's pretty much how you do it. And sometimes people go in the merge patch. If you look at it, let's see if we can bring this up. Let's try it. Let's bring this up again, and I'll show you my merged patch, and it'll show me everything that it merged. It really wasn't much. All right, let's select none, and let's go down here to the bottom. Let's find FO for merge patch. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to select, and it'll automatically load all the masters for it. And then you'll see where it comes up. Once it gets it loaded, it'll come up over here, and you'll see the master. So these are the required plugins for my merge patch, and then it'll actually show the merge. And you can see it merged quite a few. There's quite a few. But we're going to look at this, and you can see. So if you looked at, let's say, armor, you can see that if you look over here, you can see that the armor, this particular record here, this particular record, and these are all fields within one record. You can see that Fallout ES, you can see the Fallout ESM first defined the record, the community fixes modified the record, and then the merge patch is what has precedence. So here you can see a change. The community patch looks like it added a keyword, and that was carried over into the merge patch. So if you had two or three more plugins that added keywords, hopefully the merge patch would have all the keywords accounted for. So at that level, all of the plugins would play nice together. But let's look at something that now this is a conflict. See, this is a conflict. So it's saying, and I am not an xEdit person at all, but it looks like it couldn't resolve this for whatever reason. So it looks like you should be able to grab this and just drag it over like this. And it looks like it would let me do it. But I don't know what result that would have. But you can see that the community fixes added quite a few level list entries. And then what is this? The diverse wasteland, I think that's immersive thing. It added even more. And the merge patch combined the level list. So this is a combined level list. And this might be a deleted entry. I'm not sure what this is. I'd have to kind of take a look at that. But what you could do, if you know what it does, you can actually drag and drop, and that will modify the merge patch when you exit out. And that's what you call a manual edit. That's when you drag a field from one mod and then one plugin and you drop it into your merge patch. And that's where you can manually edit. But you can see the actual merge that took place, and you can see where data, again, there's a community fix that is not carried over into the merge patch. I'm not sure why. It looks like it's a condition that doesn't carry over. So I'm guessing that maybe the condition actually references a perk or something that maybe is not in the merge patch, and therefore it cannot carry it over. I'm not sure. I'd have to really take more of a look at it. But you can see where even using an automatic merge, it couldn't merge everything. So there's still a conflict in here. In this, it's just a conflict in the name. See, that's all it is. So if I wanted it to say clean toaster, I would simply grab this and drag it over here and let go, and then that would become clean toaster. And it's going to say, do you know what you're doing? Probably not. But we're going to, so see, now that conflict is resolved because now I've manually gone in and say, you know what? There's two options. I'm picking clean toaster. So now when I go to exit out, and you can check every one of these. Mostly you look for cells, things like that. And this happens a lot where if you have different languages, if you've got like different languages, you can see I've got I think it's car variety, Nika-Cola cars or something, and I believe his native language is Russian, so he had a Russian version, and there are some English translations because I use English translation. So there are some English translations, but in many of the objects and cells, they didn't change the English thing. So I'd have to go in and manually pull the name over and create a patch for that, or if it's already in that merge patch, just find the conflict and pull it over. And then once you're done, when you close this, it basically says, hey, do you want me to save the changes? Normally you would click OK, but I'm not going to overwrite mine. I'm going to leave it like it is. So normally you'd have that, and if you don't have it checked and click OK, it will not save the changes. And that's pretty much it. There's really not much to it. All right, let's see. I don't want to save changes. Yeah, I don't want to do this. Are you going to let me out? There we go. So, yeah, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Like I say, you can just use the auto feature. So if you've got way too many plugins, select none. When you first bring up xEdit, select none, and then only check off the ones that change locations, the ones you think might be causing a conflict. Only check those off, and then you can auto-generate the patch. You don't even have to try to look and understand the conflict, the fields within records that are in conflict and try to manually resolve it. You can kind of let the xEdit do it. It's not perfect. It definitely can't. It's not a one. It's kind of a quick and easy one-all solution that may fix the problem or may not, but it might be worth something trying. So, all right, so good luck. I'm going to go ahead and post this for you. And, yeah, if you have any more problems, just post back, and we'll see what we can do.